thank you for joining from home for the Eastern Christian College and Career webinar. Welcome. This is Ben Fuller. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the College and Career Counselor at Eastern Christian High School. I've been able to work with hundreds of high school students as they navigate their post-secondary plans. I've been able to visit over 80 colleges in the last few years, and I'm excited to learn a few things that I've learned along the way with you tonight. Catherine Lang is also joining us. She will be available throughout the presentation to answer questions in the Q&A feature, like I mentioned before. Catherine joined the College and Career team at Eastern Christian this year, and she brings a wealth of knowledge in regards to working higher education. She worked in both admissions and financial aid. So, Catherine, if you want to just jump in real quick, we don't have video, but if you just want to say hi, you can go ahead and do that now.
Hey guys, glad to be here with you. Any questions that I don't get to in the Q&A feature before the presentation's done, I will go through and we'll be answering those questions and emailing you guys after over the next few days if we don't get to any of your questions.
Awesome. Yeah, we are recording this, and so in addition to those questions that Catherine is going to answer, we can send you a recording of this hopefully at the end if all the tech goes well. So the information in this webinar is a combination of two events that were unfortunately canceled, like a lot of events are during this time. We had the College Admissions 101, and then we also had our Pathways event, exploring alternatives to the four-year college option. So we're going to try and cover both of those events, but we're not going to go 3 hours. I'm going to try and get us out in about 45 minutes. And so this presentation is for both those high schoolers who are looking to go right to a four-year college, and for those who are exploring all different kinds of post-secondary options. So we want to cover all those things. We'll be looking at just everything from a bird's eye view, but hopefully we're going to give you some really practical steps and tips to take. So this is geared toward high school juniors, but welcome if you're a high school junior, sophomore, or anyone who's just jumping in on this to learn more about the college and career planning process. So here is our agenda for the night. First, what can I be doing now, especially in light of our current circumstances as a high school junior? Trends in college admissions, and then 3 things I've learned from visiting 80 colleges in the last 4 years. So we're going to try and, like I said, make this a very practical thing. The goal of this webinar, creating a college and career plan can be extremely confusing and overwhelming. And so I want to break this process down into simple steps so that students are ready to graduate. When they graduate high school, they can speak with confidence and passion about their future plans. That's really my mission statement and what I'm all about. And so I want to do that in this presentation. I want to be practical, and I want to give you some valuable resources for you to look over after. So I want to start by just addressing the elephant in the room. The fact of the matter is, this was supposed to be an in-person event. The fact of the matter is, juniors were supposed to be making plans to visit colleges right now. For many, the March 14th SAT, those test sites, many of those test sites were canceled. The May 2nd SAT was canceled. April 4th canceled. And the next available tests are in June for both the SAT and ACT. This doesn't affect as many of our students, but AP tests that are coming up that are usually done in schools, or they're going to try to do actually allow students to take them on their own time in a shortened kind of free answer response. And they're going to try to somehow do this without students being able to cheat. And so all those things to say, there's a lot out of your control right now. If you're a student and both and a parent, there's a lot out of your control. And so I think it's important that, obviously we try and separate those two things. I have up on the screen the Serenity Prayer. This has been used for centuries, but it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And so my prayer for us tonight is both to know the difference of things that we can and cannot change, and then the courage to go ahead and try and focus on those things that we can change as it relates to college and career planning. So here's the checklist. Okay, juniors, these are 7 things that I want us to think about. Okay, this is your game plan for junior year, and sophomores, a lot of these things relate to you as well. But we're going to go through and kind of break down each of these components. You want to start for junior year, getting to know you. Okay. Research college and career options. I want you to try things, ask questions, take the SAT and ACT, visit colleges, and then keep your grades up. And so we're going to go ahead and break each of those down, and hopefully give you some really practical tips for how to go about this. Okay. Get to know you. This is step 1. To get to know you. This is a good thing, not only for high school juniors, for anyone when they're looking in terms of how do you take the gifts you've been given and utilize those into a career. And so the first thing I want to bring up is just start with some self-reflection. Journaling or a conversation with a trusted mentor can be a good place to start. Ask yourself, what is an activity that I enjoy so much that I lose track of time when I'm doing it? That's a great place to start. Or journal or have a conversation about what's my favorite subject in school and why. How do I learn best? Is it hands-on? Is it lecture style? Is it small group discussions? Different things to get just to learn more about yourself. Self-assessments are another great way to do this. So we have 3, if you're an EC student in Naviance, that everyone should do. Number 1 is the Strengths Explorer. Gives you your top 3 strengths. Career Key there's 6 different Holland's keys or personality types, and you can learn about that. And then Career Interest Profiler matches your personality interests with particular careers that might be a good fit for you. If anyone's heard of the Enneagram, that's a great personality tool that's kind of popped up recently in its popularity. So any of these things to start getting to know yourself, your strengths, interests, that's a great place to start when you're thinking big picture of college and career planning. Okay, so get to know you, and then number 2, this is a big one. And so research college and career options. We're gonna sit on this one for a little bit, and I actually have some slides to go through because I want, like I said, this is a big topic, and I want us to cover as much ground as we can in just the 45 minutes we have. So researching college and career options. We're going to use this this slide as a jumping off point. This is our Eastern Christian class of 2019, and where they went. Okay, so to begin, we had 99 seniors. 80 went to a 4-year college. 12 went to community college. 2 went to a technical or vocational school. 2 enlisted in the military, and 3 did a combination of work or a gap year. And so we're not going to get to all those things, but this is a good example of our high school and some of the different kind of pathways that students choose after they graduate. One thing we like to brag about with our students is the students who did go to a 4-year school, 93 to 94% of them persisted, meaning they stayed at that same school from freshman to sophomore year. The national average is about 61%. So we love that our students are prepared for school. They're not dropping out, and they're choosing schools that are good fits for them. So they're not transferring nearly at the rate that other students do. So we're really proud of that. here's where our students have attended in the last few years. So you can see it's all over the country and even all over the world. We don't have, but we have students going internationally as well. On a national level, just to give a big picture idea, 52% of students attend a college close to home or within 100 miles, and that's very much the same with our students. Even though this map is all over the place, actually 61% of our students went to a school either in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or New York. So that's true of our students as well. Here's, once again, just those different opportunities for students. And so a lot of these same things are reflected with the stats that you saw from our school. We're not going to get to all these, but we are going to break down a few of these options. So to college or not to college, that's what we're going to explore right now. So here's just two stats to think about. There are so many variables when it comes to, should I attend a four-year college or not? One of the biggest questions, should I attend? Is it even worth it? But one thing just financially that we can look at is student debt. There's a crisis in America of student debt. In fact, total U.S. student loan debt, if anyone's researched this recently, is at $1.5 trillion of total U.S. student loan debt. That's crazy. New Jersey, our state, average student loan debt is at $32,000, so the sixth highest in the country. So we have students taking on way too many loans to go to school. At the same time, you have to balance it with stats like the ones that we see on the right, where it does show, and this has been fairly consistent in the last 30 years, that on average, people with a bachelor's degree versus someone who did not go to school has a higher average or median income. So there's so many things, and this is where it becomes an individual question for each family. But I wanted just to throw those out there as a starting point to this conversation. So the community college option, we have about 10 to 15% of our students attend a community college every year. And I want to emphasize it's not because they can't get into a four-year school. It's because of these advantages that I'm going to talk about right here. So one advantage is simply the credit transfer, especially to local state colleges. And those colleges that have agreements with those community colleges. So those are going to be colleges that are going to transfer 100% of the credits that you get from a community colleges. A drawback could be some private schools or schools that do not have agreements with that community college may not transfer all those credits that you get. There's some other things to look at as far as the social pluses and minuses, but the one thing I did want to mention is short-term expenses. The cost per credit of attending a community college right off the bat is much less than almost any four-year school. However, in some cases, the long-term expense could be more because colleges are not going to offer the same scholarships to junior transfer students as they would to first-time freshmen. I know this from working in admissions. And so that is one thing. Typically, you can save a good deal of money by doing community college. That's overall, that can be a great choice and a cost-saving option. But do know that sometimes that can come back to bite you because you're not going to get some scholarships that would have been offered to you if you went straight to a four-year school. So fantastic option for many of our students. Vocational trade schools. This is if you want to develop a specific skill. Maybe you're more of a hands-on learner. The fact of the matter is trades are going to be in demand. And so all the experts are saying that there's just going to be not enough, the same amount of people going into the trade fields, and there's going to be more of a demand, and those people are going to do very well for themselves. It's a shorter commitment too to finish those programs, usually 6 months to 2 years. And so here's a few local examples that we have just in northern New Jersey. I did want to point out the last one, Servant's Heart. It's a nonprofit organization, and they've started a new free work training program. So Larry Dykhouse from our EC family is involved there, and it's a fantastic option. That's kind of an up and coming one if you're interested in kind of pursuing a trade. Okay, researching college options. So many different things to think about if you are a student who does want to go right into a 4-year school. And so the size of student body, the academic programs they have, campus life, cost, diversity, retention rate, really important when we talk about persistence rate. The number of students who start freshman year and then come back sophomore year is the retention rate of a college. So that's a really good indicator for me of how that school is doing. Are students staying because they like it, or are they leaving or transferring or dropping out? Graduation rate's obviously an important one. But I did mention this one. Look at the last one. Are you okay with missing grandma's birthday? When you're thinking of these schools, there's really there's the rational and kind of statistical kind of frame of mind to have. That's very important, where you break down the plus and minuses of each school. But then there's also the personal heart issues of, are you a person who's just really close knit with your family and you want to be there for grandma's birthday? Maybe then you don't want to go, 500 miles away, because if you're going to a school 500 miles, or let's say California, you're only going to be able to come home, let's say once, twice, and during the school year. So you're going to miss grandma's birthday. That's just as important. So you have to look at both those things, both like the rational, statistical side of this decision-making process, as well as the personal. And that's very individualized. Okay, couple resources for you. These are my top college research tools. And once again, we don't need to kind of jot this down. We can send you this presentation, but a few things to keep in mind. All of our students at EC and many students around the country have access to Naviance. Naviance and Big Future are two great ones. If you're looking for just a college search, you want to just search, hey, I'm looking for a school in these states with this major, and it has these sports teams, and it'll give you a list of schools that are a good fit for you. College Navigator and College Scorecard, those are my favorites to cut through the clutter, cut through the admissions, kind of talks and advertisements, and really get an idea of the actual stats from that school. They use data from the what's it called, the National Clearinghouse and the Department of Education, so you can get real stats on what are the school's average SAT scores for accepted students, or what's the gender breakdown at the school, what's the diversity at the school. And so I really like looking for stats on those two websites. My Blueprint Stories, one's just for Christian colleges, if that's something you're looking for. And then Niche is basically the Yelp, I call it, of colleges. So just like on Yelp, where you have people coming in and rating the different restaurants, Niche is like that for colleges. It's very subjective, but students are able to go in and, it's a fun thing because you get to read the different, student firsthand responses from their schools. I see a really good question come up. Well, hopefully we'll be able to address that. We have some time right now. This is just this is a question that came up. How do you prepare and advise students to maintain their faith and Christian values when they get to college? Wow, really good question. I'll give one tip right now, and then maybe we can address that further just in a personal email. But just for everyone, if you're a student at EC, faith is important to you, and let's say you're going to a state school or a non-Christian school. The one thing in your research that I want you to kind of look into is, what are the Christian organizations on campus? InterVarsity, Cru, are two of the big kind of Christian organizations that you hear of in college. You can Google those or find them on the clubs and of the schools, and email the leaders of those organizations. There's always contact information, and get to and start to figure out, does this school have a good representation? Because what you really need when you go off to a school after being in a tight-knit kind of community at EC is you need a support group. And that's the one way to find that is research. If you're going to just our local state school, William Patterson, type in William Patterson InterVarsity, William Patterson Crew, and you'll get some things to come up. So great question. Okay, here we go. We're continuing. So we took a long detour for researching college options, but I think that was really important. And now we're moving on in our game plan, our checklist. Okay, so now we're at try things. Very, very specific, I know, but this is what I mean by try things. Experience really is the best teacher. And so this goes for not only high school juniors, younger students as well, adults. If we're looking to figure out our next, career step or our college major, we need to start trying things. 2 to 3, on average, college students change their major 2 to 3 times. I'm one of those statistics. The majority of people end up in a career field or a specific career that is different than their undergrad major. I'm that statistic as well. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. Okay, so when you're going through these, you have to try things, and so the more you can try things in high school, possibly the less you're going to have to jump around in college and after college. So, our current circumstances limit us for sure when it comes to this. But here's a few things that you can do now. When you're picking classes, pick them classes and projects that are geared towards a possible career field that you want to look into. You could get a job or internships or look into summer programs that are geared toward, once again, a field that you're interested in. At EC, we have wings, so our students can choose from all these different types of career fields and actually intern as part of their curriculum at EC. At a hospital, at an architectural firm, we had students just in going to the construction or carpentry fields. So all different types of opportunities there. Doing different clubs at school, obviously, when we come back. And here's something you can do now. There's millions of free online classes that you can take advantage of right now. edX or EDX, it was founded at Harvard and MIT, and they're offering over 250,000 free classes that you could take. Just try and to get an idea of, hey, is this something? If I'm interested in computer science, maybe I take a computer science course and figure out if that's something that would be a good fit for me. All right, ask questions. So talk to some trusted, wise people in your life about their career path. And even if it's a person that you respect and can take suggestions from, ask them, what do you see in me as some of my strengths? And so asking these questions, here's an idea that could be good in this current time we're in. FaceTime grandma or grandpa if you're fortunate enough to have them in your life still, and ask, hey, how did you figure out what you were going to do with your life, your career, and your college choices, whatever it may be? And so that's a way to not only brighten their day, but for you to learn something. So ask questions. Start with family. Talk to mentors, and talk to I call them modelers, or people that have found success in their career field. So if you're interested in becoming a doctor, find a doctor. If it's not mom or dad, talk to a friend's mom or dad who is a doctor and ask about their path. So one thing that everyone can do, even if you don't want to kind of start those conversations right away, Naviance has something called Road Trip Nation. And so these researchers went around and they talked to 922 leaders throughout the world. in various kind of career fields and ask them about their journey, and and different things in that particular career. And so there's this huge kind of list of interviews that you can go through by topic. So Road Trip Nation and Naviance is a good place to start as well. Okay, take the SAT or ACT. So this one, like I said, is a tough one because of all the different cancellations. And we'll get into that in a second as far as the timing of the next available tests. But I want to start with some questions before we get into the cancellations. Just general overview questions. I'm asked every time, should I take the SAT or ACT? And we don't have time to get into the nitty-gritty, but here's a few things to keep in mind. Colleges don't prefer one over the other. And so when you're thinking, and students, sometimes people, they spend a great deal of time thinking through, is this test the right one for me, or is this test the right one for me? And the real answer is they're actually very similar. The biggest difference is just how they score. The SAT is at a 1600, the ACT is at a 36. But students who take both, and about 1/3 of our students choose to take both, students do about the same in terms of national percentile. So the most important thing is not which one you take, but it's choosing one and taking that one at least twice. Another option could be taking one of each, take the SAT, take the ACT, whichever one you do better on in terms of national percentile, take that one again, okay? Because the reason why you want to take it twice is, there's a few reasons, but one is many schools super score. So they'll take the best, your highest math from one and your best reading from another, and they'll combine them. So your super score is higher than either of the individual scores you took. So if nothing else, that's a reason to take it twice. Okay. Khan Academy, the Khan Academy, KHAN, is a great resource where, especially for our students who took the PSAT, you can link your PSAT score to the Khan Academy and get free resources and videos geared toward what you need to work on. And ACT is getting a ton of good resources too, a free resource on their website, act.org. Okay. There is this big push where schools are going test optional, so that you aren't required to send in your test scores to a growing number of schools. So I would still recommend, and it's a case-by-case basis, but almost like for 95% of our students, I would say I'd still recommend taking it, even if you don't think you're a good test taker. There may be some where we just say, you know what, we'll just focus on other things. But for most, I'd still recommend you take it, even if you're going to a school that is test optional. So if you want a full list of those schools that are test optional, go to fairtest.org. Okay, fairtest.org has a full list of all the schools that are test optional. All right. So, standardized testing dates. We have, unfortunately, for most students, the March 14th test sites were canceled. Some stayed open, but many of them were canceled. The ACT, April 4, canceled. May 2nd, SAT, canceled. So our next available options, and this is a tough thing for juniors because a lot of folks were studying really hard for these upcoming exams, is now you have to wait until June. And even those are up in the air. I just was on a webinar with kind of the vice president of College Board, and they're hoping that they can run the June one, but they're honestly not sure if they're going to be able to. I did want to bring up all these future dates though to show you're going to have plenty of time. Okay, let's say even if the June ones are canceled, and they're not yet, they're open right now. Even if they are, you're still going to have time throughout the first semester of senior year to take those dates. Okay, so just keep that in mind. visiting colleges, along with the cancellations of the SAT, ACT. This is, for me, really one of the toughest things that's happened for students as they're planning on visiting, looking at their college and career plans. So the director of admissions of Georgia Tech said they were expecting 13,000 visitors for the month of April. Obviously, none of those can happen. So I feel really bad for students. There's really not a lot we can do right now. But I do want to give some things, like we said, with our Serenity Prayer that we can do. One thing that the same director of admissions said was, here's a pro tip. When you're looking at schools, look at some of their social media accounts, but not the ones that are run by admissions. Look at ones, for instance, that if you're looking at playing basketball at a school, look at the basketball, Instagram page of Georgia Tech, because that's going to give you an idea of the culture, of the school, an inside look, at kind of how people think and interact. And so I thought that was kind of a good tip from their own director. Another thing you can do is actually do some virtual tours. It's not the same as visiting, but they are getting better and better, and schools are putting in a ton of money right now to try and do kind of really good virtual tours of schools. Okay, and the last one's keep your grades up. Okay, on our game plan of junior year checklist items, keeping your grades up. Or for some of you, this means, I kind of said it in a positive way, sometimes this means get serious and start improving those grades. But either way, getting the best grades possible is hugely important for this reason. When the directors of admission from around the country were polled, and they asked them, what are the top 3 factors you're looking at when you're looking at your applicants? What are the things that are going to separate, Joe from Mike when it comes to who's getting in and who's getting denied? And they said, number 1, grades in all courses. And number 2, strength of curriculum, or the classes you chose to take, the strength of your schedule. And number 3 was the admissions test, the SAT or ACT. So, but number 1, number 2 are always having to do with your grades and your classes and the classes you take. So you want to do, one way to put it is, you want to do, take the toughest classes, but get the best grades possible in those. Okay, so don't take all the honors classes if you're getting C's and D's in those, but take a tough schedule, but get the best grades possible in those classes. Okay, there's our game plan. So those are the things that we're going to look to do. We're going to get to know you, research college and career options. We're going to try things. We're going to ask questions. We're going to take the SAT or ACT when we can. We're going to visit colleges or do some of those other things that we talked about. We're going to keep our grades up. Okay? I got 2 more things left. We're doing pretty good on time. And so I want to cover trends in college admissions, and then we'll end with some lessons I learned from visiting colleges. Okay, I don't know if you can see this cartoon, but it's this dad, he's reading something to his daughter. It says, the U.S. News and World Report Guide to America's Top 500 Colleges, Chapter 1. Rankings have, simply put, rankings have changed the game. In college admissions. Students and parents are relying on rankings to choose where they apply. And so what's happening is more applications to these schools equals more selectivity. And since the ranking systems use selectivity as a factor in their rankings, it creates a snowball effect. So the most selective schools are getting even more selective. And so it creates this illusion that college is so hard to get into these days, when that's actually not the case. So hear me out. Fewer than 100 colleges are highly selective. meaning they accept 25% of their applicants or less. And these schools are getting more selective every year. 80% of the colleges in America accept the majority of the people that apply. Okay? So when we're looking at these things, the question for those who are worried of, can I get in anywhere, is not can you get in? I can find you a 4-year school that will accept you. Is that a good fit for you? Okay, so you can get in. It's just applying to schools that aren't crazy selective. Number 2, for those who are set on a you want to go to a 4-year college option. You must, if you're looking at some selective schools, you must, in addition, add schools where your GPA and your test scores are below the average for the school. In other words, some safety schools. And so safety doesn't sound like a really attractive option. No one wants to like go on a prom, or go to, kind of just have a safety option. Okay. But it just means schools where your averages are higher than that school and you can get in. Okay. The 2-2-2 rule is a good one to go by. So if you're applying to 2 selective schools, have 2 target and 2 safety schools. Those are the schools that are also going to offer you more money. The schools where your averages are higher than theirs. Okay, so when you're looking at rankings, and I hate rankings, by the way. This is how the U.S. News and World Report kind of does their rankings, because you ask yourself, how are you supposed to rank how good a college is? Well, this is how the U.S. News and World Report ranks. Here's one thing that colleges are doing, though, because these can be manipulated. So one college, for instance, look at the alumni giving rates right here. One school, for their graduation, they made each of their graduates pay $1 to attend their own graduation ceremony. In doing that, they have a higher alumni giving rate to the school. And so their ranking actually improved after they did that. So these are some just gimmicky ways that schools are looking at this formula and trying to better their ranking. Another reason why I don't like rankings is 25% is based on peer assessment, meaning what colleges think of other colleges. But how is a school in Missouri, let's say, supposed to know which schools are better in our local area, like Ramapo or Montclair? They don't, is the answer. So here's my proposal. What's your ranking criteria? And so I go through this with parents and students in meetings sometimes is, for you individually, make a pie chart and say, what are you looking for in a school? And some of it might be things that like retention rate, graduation rate, but sometimes you might have a particular thing that you're thinking through. Does it have these clubs on campus? Does it have this particular, does it have the kind of food I'm looking for? Is it a college town, or is it more kind of in a rural area, or is it city? What's your personal criteria? That's going to be the thing that's more important than a ranking from the U.S. News and World Report. And parents, you can do the same thing too. Okay, who does what? So we used to have helicopter parents, and now a term that's popping up is snowplow parents. Okay, and so what I like to emphasize to students, and to students especially, is students, you should be in the driver's seat when it comes to planning for your kind of college and career options. Parents should be in the passenger seat, and so you need to step up so that they can kind of play that background role. All right. The passive applicant versus the proactive applicant. So the passive applicant, like the one on the left, they only read about schools that send them mail. versus the proactive applicant on the right in the driver's seat, where they're researching schools in Naviance, they're looking at college websites, they're doing the virtual tours, all those different things. It's the passive applicant who, for instance, gets dragged on these college visits, whereas the proactive applicant is looking for visits, and they're the one asking questions on the tours. Okay, one on the left, easily influenced by peers versus, you have your own strong opinions of what you want in your college and career. Okay. And then last thing that we're gonna wrap up is 3 things I've learned from visiting 80 colleges in 4 years. So I visit a lot of schools, and I really enjoy visiting colleges. It's just something that I greatly enjoy, just visiting, seeing the different flavors of the college campus, of the social life, of the academics. So 3 things I've learned. Number 1, as I mentioned kind of already, every college has its own flavor. So even kind of fun, interesting traditions that each school has, I love learning about those things because that's what makes a school unique. Okay, so every college has its own flavor. Number 2, every college provides endless opportunities. Every time on one of these college tours, someone asks, well, do you have this particular club or organization? And the response every time, like they're all trained to say this, is, we don't, but you know what? The nice part is at our school, you can make that. You can make one if you get 5 to 10 people, an advisor. So every college is going to have these opportunities where you can make the experience what you want. All right. And that leads me to the 3rd and most important one. It's not where you go. It's what you do when you get there. Okay. Or Frank Bruni, in his book, he says it like this. It's not, where you go is not who you'll be. So, and he backs this up with the research in his book. For instance, a large portion of the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies attended their local state schools, not the selective private schools that you'd think there would be. So this helps because it shows that there's no such thing as a dream school. Students, you need to get that out of your head. There's no such thing as a dream school. You can accomplish all the things that you're looking to accomplish in your career if you don't get into that one particular dream school. So if you start to learn this truth and think that way, you're going to save yourself a lot of potential, heartache and stress from learning, am I going to get in, to this particular school? So there's the 3 kind of lessons that I've learned. Okay. Last but not least, we just have a quick announcement. If you haven't heard, EC is partnered with Geneva College in Pennsylvania to create a Geneva College satellite campus on our EC North Haledon campus. It's approved by the state of New Jersey for a fall 2020 start. And so students can actually get associate degrees as if they were going to like a community college for community college prices, but on our campus. So it's a really innovative event or innovative kind of program that through this partnership. And so if you want to learn more, I got the website right there. All right, so friends, I just want to thank you very much just for coming. A couple things just to keep in mind. My email and Catherine's email are listed here. We have a college and career program guide for those of you who want to learn more about some of these things I talked about. And so we can send you, well, number 1, we can send you a free copy, okay, of that program. Number 2, hopefully, if all the tech went well, we can also send you a copy of this of this actual webinar recording. So send either of us an email if you're interested in one of those, either a free copy of the guide or a free copy of this recording. So let us know if you're interested in either one of those. So thank you very much, and have a good night. What I'll probably do now is, if you would like to stick around and ask a few questions, we'll kind of end the recorded portion of this. But if it's okay with you, Catherine, I'll just stick around and we can try and answer a few of these questions before we sign off. So, but as far as for everyone who's just joining us live, you're free to go. But like I said, I'll stick around for a little bit. Thank you, and have a great night.